Hi, I'm Marina.
I'm Michelle.
And this is a Flippin' Gals podcast. We like to go to garage and estate sales and look for treasures. We also like to gather people, collectors and resellers alike, and provide them with information about products, many of them vintage, and share information along with other resellers about how to get started and make some extra side money doing what we do. Thanks for joining us today. Today's episode, which is our very first episode, we wanted to focus on telling our story to all of you. I actually run the social media account on Instagram. And Michelle, what do you usually run?
I usually run the behind the scenes stuff, listing, selling, and also packaging and shipping to other folks.
So, Michelle, why did we start doing this?
So we started doing this because we needed to raise some money to fund our backyard. We have recently purchased a home, and we did not realize that the backyard needs work done. So we went to a couple of landscapers and didn't realize how costly it is to get the backyard done. So yeah, that's all how we started. And Marina? Exactly.
So, I mean, purchasing a new home, it's the first time we're first home buyers, was quite expensive in its own. And even though we could have probably taken some of the money from our paychecks to pay for our backyard, it was just a lot of money. We already had other bills like new furniture that we purchased for our home as well. So we thought, hey, you know what? There's this character called Gary V. Do any of you know Gary V? There's this character called Gary V. He had recently started doing this video, YouTube videos called Trash Talk. So check it out, Google it, Gary V Trash Talk. And what he was doing was he was going around on a Saturday morning, and he was buying things at a garage sale and going on eBay and selling them for a profit. So that looked really interesting to us. Just the episodes were so cool. His energy was so cool. So we decided that we would give it a try on a weekend, on a Saturday. And we went out. We had no idea what we were doing, but we went out and we started looking and buying things from garage sales. Do you remember that one weekend when we first did that?
I remember, and we were trying to figure out what to buy, and those were the old days. Now we know exactly what we need to get.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely still learning. This happened back in October of 2018. Today is May 12th of 2019. And honestly, it was kind of a blur. The whole thing was kind of a blur, but I do remember one thing. I remember going to a garage sale. And at this sale, it was a mom and a little boy. And they were getting rid of a tiny little red drum set. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember that. And it was actually a kid's drum set. And we went up and we're like, hey, how much is a drum set? And she's like, $5. And we're like, okay, well, that sounds cheap. But then she looked like she really wanted to get rid of it. So I was like, well, would you do it for $2? And she's like, okay. So we sold the drum set.
It was $4.
Well, $4?
$4. I remember, okay, I have this thing about me, I have a really good memory when it comes to some things.
Sorry, $4.
Yeah, it was $4.
And we bought it, not knowing how much we could sell it for.
Do you remember how many pieces it was?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6?
Okay, so it was like a bass. If you guys are familiar with drum sets, it was like a bass. It had a snare and it had a cymbal. It had a stool where you could sit down. It had a pedal. Well, obviously the cymbal had a pedal, the bass had a pedal, and then it had drumsticks. It did have one little issue though. It had like a little tear. There was a tear on one of the snares or something like that.
There was, but there was a piece of tape over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were, honestly, when we bought that drum set, we didn't really know. I didn't really want to buy it because it said made in China and like it was broken. It had that little tear. But Michelle was like, no, we have to get it.
Yeah, it was a really good deal. So we went home and listed it on OfferUp for 49. How much do you remember?
What I remember was that we listed on OfferUp and we sold it for $50. So that was our first experience at a garage sale making money, and after that we were just hooked. That's my memory. That's what I remember.
All right, so Marina, what is our purpose for continuing to do this?
Honestly, I think we, after doing it for a few months, so we put up a YouTube video of how we made about 10 grand a couple of months ago. So, so we made about 10 grand in profit. Now, mind you, we spent some of that profit in other things.
Mm-hmm. And obviously the priority is a backyard, so we put a little money over there. And then we're also investing. We put $4,000 in the backyard, and we still have some ways to go. And we also invested in the shelving in the garage, so we could store our inventory. And then that's $1,000. And we've recently hired an employee, and we've spent $2,000 on that so far.
Yeah, so like even though we did make $10,000 in profit within just a few months, I think it was like 5 months since October. There's like a few factors. Like one, I didn't start doing this until January. Michelle was kind of on her own in October. Mm-hmm. So I started in January, and we made $10,000 in profit, and we've just been, spending it.
Yeah, we have been spending it. And currently, if you guys are curious, we are actually at 13 grand. And we plan to just pay for all the expenses, and then we're going to reinvest some profit into the business.
Yeah, we actually want to grow this business because it's been a lot of fun, and we have found that we've needed to spend some money on marketing. So we'll tell you more about that later, but we do have like about 10 questions that we wanted to ask each other during this episode so that you guys can kind of get to know us a little bit better. So I guess I can start. So the first question is, what do we do for work full time?
Well, I'm in marketing. I started my career in advertising, and I'm currently working for a branding design agency. How about you, Marina?
Yeah, well, speaking of starting career, I started doing work in investments, then I switched into working at a winery, then I switched into teaching. So I've done quite a bit of things. Currently, I work at a school 30 hours a week, and I commute there, so that takes up about 40 hours a week, and I spend the rest of my time doing Flippin' gals.
All right, so moving on to the next one. So what part do we like the most about doing this, Marina?
So what is this? What would you say this is?
This is going to garage sale reselling business.
Reselling business, okay. Yeah, I guess finding treasures. To be honest, what hooked me was the garage sale hunt. So like if you watch Gary Vee on YouTube and you follow him, that's what hooked me, was just going to garage sales and finding items for, $1, $2, $3, $4 that I could turn around and sell for like 50 online. Yeah, how about you? What about you, Michelle?
I think I agree with that. And there's some kind of adrenaline rush when you go garage sales, especially when, everything's unknown. So sometimes you find treasure and sometimes there is nothing. But it's part of the experience, makes it fun. And another thing I like is the fact that we can actually connect with the community. We connect with our social media followers. We do weekly giveaways, and everyone's been really engaging and supportive.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. There's so many aspects of what we're doing. Once we've we're trying to develop it into a business, and even just the marketing aspect and connecting with people all over the United States online or through our Instagram account has been really rewarding, on top of being able to find really cool, rare items that people really want.
Yep. So why do we want to keep doing it, Marina?
Yeah, so like I mean, for me, there's so many reasons. I'm learning so much. I've learned so much since I started in January about what it's like to run a business on a very tiny little scale. But I think that this is preparing me just to have experience running a business in general. There's so much that goes into it. We had to open an LLC. We have to do marketing. We have to be strategic about how we spend our money. And it's really just creating a platform for me to have an education on what it is to have a business and run a business, and the overhead isn't very big because we just do it out of our home.
Well, what I want to keep doing it because it's so much fun. We're having a lot of fun, and it's been an exciting experience. There's also a lot of learning curves, and obviously we don't grow without any learning. So I want to keep doing it. And lastly, who doesn't want some side money, right?
I knew you were going to say that. I know one of the reasons you like it is for the money. But yeah, who doesn't want that for sure? Thank you for listening to the Flippin' Gals podcast. Follow us on Instagram at the Flippin' Gals, where we do weekly giveaways and shipping is free. And so I'm asking the next question. So what is currently our weekly revenue?
Our current weekly revenue varies. Sometimes we do $500-$600 a week, and sometimes we do $200-$300. So
on average, what would you say it is?
Around $300.
Yeah. Yeah, and even though we've hired an employee, our revenue hasn't changed. So there's definitely something that we got to look into there. Our employee won't be with us much longer, but there's got to be a way that we can overcome that. I think it's like a little obstacle that we have to overcome. Yeah. There's something we're doing wrong in the business that we can't break that $300 mark a week there. So we got to figure that out. If you guys have ideas, please let us know.
And what are the biggest obstacles that we're currently facing?
Well, from my point of view, like our dog recently tore her ACL, and she's been healing, and it's going to take a few months. And since that happened, I've had my hands full, and I haven't been able to put in as much work into the business. So for me, that's been like an opportunity to kind of manage my patience, and keep going, because it could be a little discouraging wanting to see fast changes and results. And, of course, my dog is my baby and she's my priority. So that's been the biggest obstacle that I've faced. One of them.
Yeah.
How about you, Michelle?
And I agree with that. I mean, we both have full-time jobs. So in addition to all the life stuff, we got to take care of this business. And it's been a little bit of a challenge in terms of balancing our time. But we're doing our best, and hopefully when Kiki gets better, we'll be able to free up some time to focus more on this business.
Okay. So in terms of value, we want to, there's a few different things. We want to obviously continue hunting for those treasures that people are collecting all over the world. And we also just want to disperse information that could be possibly of any help to anybody else who wants to do what we're doing. We think this is just like an amazing opportunity to just kind of self-start outside of your full-time job to make some extra cash. It's just a really easy way to get it going right now. So we do have, people on Instagram who direct message us and ask us questions about getting started. And we're more than happy to answer the questions and provide any advice that we can give. And so again, that's the kind of value we want to provide, that I want to provide.
So the value that I see in this business is, I think knowledge is power. And during, most of the estate sales, I've learned a lot of historical events, and especially like looking at vintage newspapers or even like really old telephones. And we enjoy sharing that knowledge with the community. And another thing that we want to share is we want to have collectors get the items that they're looking for. Obviously, a lot of the items are rare, and we do want to make sure we give these items a new home. And also, lastly, we want to save the environment and not, encourage people to buy new items, because there are a lot of old items that are still in new condition. So yeah. Who's our target audience?
Yeah, our target audience is collectors and those who want to start reselling. So, where do we see our business going toward the end of the year?
We'd certainly see this business growing as it has grown since October last year. And we hope to have more employees and have more support by end of the year so we can expand this.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think maybe one employee, and we want to increase our sales on Shopify and maybe get into wholesale.
That's right. Recently, we started a Shopify account, and we actually want to start selling from our store instead of going through a third party like eBay or OfferUp or Mercari. So Marina, when we go to garage sales, what items do you look for?
I think it really varies. We started finding some value in vintage cameras, like rare ones. So we definitely look for those. We've also found value in some vintage newspapers that were very well kept. So we definitely look for those. And I think that's the gist of it. What about you? What do you look for?
Yeah, recently we've gotten into vintage cameras, and there are actually a lot of people who likes old manual, old school cameras from like the 1980s. So those are valuable. We look for sometimes clothing items, name brands especially. People value name brands, especially vintage ones. So those are the items that I usually look for.
Great. So what was the best item that you think that you have purchased?
I think personally, it's gonna go back to that Kodak Medalist #2 camera. I wasn't sure in the beginning. I did spend $75 on it, and it was a big investment for us. But not knowing, the next day we listed it for $350, and it was sold. So that's quite memorable for me. How about you?
For me, it's going to always go back to the newspapers. So we found these just old 1970s newspapers, just like a stack of gold, really. And I think we paid like a quarter for each newspaper, and we're currently selling them anywhere between $25 and $200. And I mean, it's just a piece of history, and I personally think they're underpriced because you just cannot put a price on history, and especially media form. Anything that you have on paper that shows you what really happened in the past is just priceless.
So now we've talked about our items. Let's chat about where do we actually list our items? What platforms?
So you can find our store on our website, flippingals.com with 1G, or you can also find us on eBay with the same handle. We're also on Mercari, which is kind of like an eBay, but there's no auctioning on that one, with the same handle. And lastly, we sell our clothes on Poshmark.
Yeah, and for those of you who have any questions about if you want to start reselling or you want to start making some side money, feel free to contact us if you have any questions, and we're more than happy to share our thoughts based on our experience.
Awesome. Okay, so coming up next, we have a 14-year-old who's out hustling in Chicago, taking photography pictures of supercars. We have another reseller who focuses on selling a lot on Poshmark, and that's what will be next. Thank you so much for listening to our first episode. Please comment, like, and share. And our podcast will be available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and a few other ones. So stay tuned.
And if you guys want to follow us on social media, we are on Instagram, handle The Flippin Gals. We're also on eBay. It's under Flippin Gals, Mercari, Flippin Gals, Poshmark Flippin Gals.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Like, share, and direct message us during the week if you want to talk to us or even have questions about getting started on reselling.